Day 5 here in the shop. We've been making some good progress. Got most of the table, I don't even know percentage-wise how much more is left. I've never done one of these before. But I'm pretty happy with what we've got going. This water bed is cruising right along. I made a really boneheaded move yesterday and I tacked some stuff in that I shouldn't have, and now I'm gonna have to weld everything from the underside in order to make sure that this thing gets sealed up and doesn't leak any water. So I'm really not looking forward to flipping this thing over and welding it, but you know, it is what it is. So most of today is welding the bottom of the pan out for the water bed and throwing the slats in there. I'm not gonna weld this down to the table quite yet. I'm gonna wait until I build the gantry and find out how much clearance I'm gonna need here on the side rails so I can get this water bed sucked as far as possible over this way onto the table to leave this section open for some other projects and ideas that I have in the future. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this space yet, but there's a couple different options, like possibly a wood routing area, or small milling station for like softer metals like aluminum, or possibly even a tube cutter is really what I'd like to do. But I've got some other ideas in motion, some other plans really in motion already with the tube cutter, and it may not sit on this table, it may have to be mounted elsewhere, but we'll find out when we get there. So, pretty exciting day today. Welding, more welding. I'm gonna run this freaking welder until it quits on me and overheats, and then I'll let it cool down and weld some more after that. Come on, let's get to fucking work already, right? So this is a problem I keep running into, and eventually I'm going to buy a better welder, but for now, this is what I can afford, is this little Hobart wire feeder right here. I've got another one, but it's only a 110 volt, and I have a stick and TIG welder, but I don't have any rod right now, and I'm definitely not going to TIG weld this thing. So I'm forced to sit here and wait for the welder to cool down. And I've got about 7 foot of this welded out right now, down to there, and there's 10, 20, 30, about 35 feet of weld to do, and I've got 7 of them done. So that means I'm probably gonna overheat 3 or 4 more times before this thing's all welded out. So just bear with me. It's the next thing on my list to get a higher duty cycle welder, but I'm not there yet, so I'm just working with what I got and making the best of it. I've even been thinking about buying maybe a second 220 Hobart machine because they're so cheap, and then I can just switch back and forth between the two. If one's cooling down, I could be welding with the other. That could be a cheap option I might end up going with here in the near future, just to get me by. But we'll see how it goes. Just bear with me and we'll keep welding this sucker out, yeah? welder to cool down now for the second time, and while I'm sitting here waiting, I noticed something that I thought might be useful to you guys. As I'm going through here, this piece of sheet metal, as it heats up, as I'm welding it, let me find a spot here it's a little easier to see. So as I work down this way, all of a sudden that heat is warping this sheet metal right here, and it pops in and creates a big gap. So you can see right here, pretty uniform thickness, and all of a sudden it gets wider right here, and that's where the sheet metal popped out here as I was heating it. Then it gets narrower again right here, and then it gets wider again right there as the sheet metal popped out. So I went ahead down here and I added a couple little tacks, thinking that would keep it from warping. And here's one of my tacks, and here I was coming right along here, and you can see where all of a sudden it pops open real wide. I mean, almost the thickness of my finger here. I can get back in there, and it was totally tight iron before we started welding it. So when I move up to here, actually I'm going to add some more tacks in here along the way, maybe probably every foot or so, because I got them every 2 feet, and that's not quite enough. So I'm going to have to work my way around, tack, 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 because all this is tight iron right now, but I suspect as I start working my way through here, it's going to start warping and peeling out and keep dipping away from me. So as soon as this welder comes back online and starts cooperating with me again, cools down a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put some more tacks all over this sucker, and hopefully that keeps it from peeling away, because it welds really fast when you have that tight iron, because we're not really trying to get anything more than fusion, just barely, because all I really need this to do is hold water. Structurally, the sheet is not doing much, if anything at all. Really, I just need it to be watertight, so I don't need to put big chunks of weld on here. I just need a real tiny little fine bead, but I can only do that if I have nice tight iron and no gaps, because otherwise I'm going to have to fill up those gaps, and that slows the whole process down, puts more time on the welder, which means more downtime waiting for it to cool down, so on and so forth. So just once again, a little bit of planning beforehand, a little bit of thought, and sequencing the order that we do these things can make your life a lot easier, a lot more difficult. So just one more little tip to help you guys while you're at home doing this. Save yourself a little bit of time and tack the living snot out of it. I do have the other side tacked, if you remember from yesterday, but that's not enough to keep this thing from peeling with all this heat we're putting into it. So we'll let this welder cool down again, and we'll see how much more we can get done. I just hit the flux core welds here with a flap wheel, and they are looking pretty decent. Don't see any pinholes or porosity, so I should be watertight here. I'm sure some people will have a few things to say about flux core welding this whole thing out, but that's what I've got, and I really think for the home shop, flux core is where it's at, because you get a higher deposition rate, more penetration for the amount of electricity that you have, which is usually fixed at 110 or 220 volts single phase at your house. It's really tough to get three-phase power in a home shop unless you get a separate service ran out here, which I'm not ready to do yet. So with flux core wire, you actually get more penetration at the same heat level than you would out of gas shielded MIG wire, which is why I use it here in the shop. because I can leave more metal, it digs a little deeper, and goes a little bit faster, and just is more efficient use of the power I have. Where I do miss out a little bit is this weld has a lot of splatter, as I'm sure you can see that. And you also get that really, that white powdery slag buildup, and that's what shields the weld as you're going through. And you do have to hit it with a wire brush and a chipping hammer, or just throw a wire wheel on a grinder, and that's what takes it off the quickest. Wrapping up here on day 5, worked on the water bed today. I got kind of a late start out here. I was busy editing some videos and posting them up this morning, so go ahead and check those out. I need a few things before I move any further with this project. One is I need some masking tape, and I need a ball valve with a garden hose male fitting on it so that I can fill up the water table as well as drain it. And I'm gonna need some paint. I don't know what color I'm gonna paint this thing yet, but I need to figure it out by tomorrow morning because I'm gonna go pick up some paint. Subscribe to my video, watch some of my other videos, throw me a like or something. It's always good to hear comments, especially. I wanna hear from you guys, and I wanna hear what you think. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and throw them in the comments. And I'm just sounding desperate now, aren't I? Stay tuned. There's gonna be more videos to come, and we will get this CNC plasma table finished one of these days.